Joining us now, Sidney Powell. Now, Sidney's not been on in a while, so I got a bunch of people texting me saying, hey, when are you going to get Sidney Powell on so we can talk about these investigations? Because, you know, she's a former Justice Department bigwig. She knows a little bit about this. She's also a very well-noted author. We'll have her talk about her book, which I did read. Very good, by the way, in a few moments. But joining us now, without further ado, Sidney Powell. Sidney, good to have you with us. It's been a while.
Good morning, John. It's great to be with you and all my friends in Virginia.
So I don't run out of time. How do people buy your book?
The best way to buy it is either on Amazon or through my website, licensed2lie.com. It is an imperative to read it right now because two of the people Mueller has picked for his special prosecutor's task force one of them is one of the lead villains in the book, and the other one is the brilliant advocate who argues the Supreme Court cases, Michael Dreeben. I want to be clear that he did not engage in any prosecutorial misconduct like the other people in the book did, but at the same time, he was willing to argue for egregious extensions of the law. I'm sure his boss told him to do that, but it really disturbs me that these are the people Mueller has chosen for his task force, along with other major Democratic donors, and of course, Jeannie Rhee, who represented the Clinton Foundation and protested and didn't produce the Clinton emails. She fought that tooth and nail. So he's assembled quite the group of people who are willing to do anything to win.
You know, I read your book again during the Memorial Day weekend, and I had some time. We were at a baseball tournament with my son, had some downtime there, and it is a must read now. And even if you read it before, read it again because it's very relevant. You're right to what is going on right now. You are absolutely correct. Licensed to Lie, and a lot of the players in there now part of this investigation. So, Sidney, let's get to this investigation. You know what's going on in there. What is this thing?
It's an effort to cause President Trump every problem that anybody can possibly cause for him. I have no doubt that they're going to be as disruptive to his work as they can possibly be. Mueller and Comey are best friends. The fact that Mueller can continue with this investigation in the face of Comey's conduct and leaking the memo or the report of the conversation he had with President Trump through a friend at Columbia and then to the press, I find the whole thing appalling. Mueller has more of a conflict of interest in this case than Attorney General Sessions had, who I believe really shouldn't have recused himself. I haven't studied the regulations and statutes in depth, but Mueller has far more of a close relationship and long-time relationship with Comey, who would be a key witness, than Sessions did with Donald Trump. So it's the whole thing just boggles my mind, and the fact that one was appointed so quickly after Comey's leak and through Rosenstein connected with all of it, it's the swamp. It's the swamp fighting back.
What's the deal with Rosenstein?
Rosenstein has been a career DOJ person. I think he's been in the Justice Department in one place or another almost his entire legal career, if not his entire legal career. The thing that bothers me the most about him is he was a U.S. attorney, I think, in Maryland. The U.S. attorney is appointed directly by the president. There's one in every federal district, and I think there are like 93 federal districts across the country. Mm-hmm. Rosenstein was the only U.S. attorney that was kept on by Obama from the prior administration.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a fair indication of where his loyalties lie.
Well, that says something right there. Let me ask you, I've had this question, Sidney Powell, by some people. Could Trump fire Rosenstein without affecting Mueller? Just say, you know what? You got confirmed by the Senate. You're not my guy. You're out. Can he do that? Put somebody else in there?
He could. He could. there'd be, inordinate and political backlash. But yeah, just like he fired Sally Yates, who had that job before Rosenstein, he could fire Rosenstein. At this point, I don't know that it would do any good at all. But I'm troubled that Rosenstein was the choice for that job in the first place.
Well, that's it. And so that everybody knows, this isn't like, Rosenstein is not part of the deep state that just, he's there. He's a bureaucrat. I mean, Jeff Sessions selected him, and he had to get confirmed by the U.S. Senate. So, I mean, that was a conscious choice they made. They could have picked anybody. They picked him. Bad move. Now it's biting him in the butt. But it's one of the problems, Sidney, with his administration, I've been saying for the past 2 days, is that they've surrounded themselves with people that don't believe in their agenda, don't believe in the president, don't like the president, don't want any of this change, don't want anything to do with any of it. That's who is running the government, and now you're perplexed as to why you can't get anything done. I mean, there's nobody to blame but them. The whole deep state thing, I get that, but there's a way around it, and that's putting in people that believe in the agenda and that are going to fight to get it done and get the changes in these agencies made, just like Obama did, right? He stacked it with all his people. He got massive transformation, not happening in the Trump administration. Sidney Powell, if you were advising the president right now, and you had a phone call with him, and he said, all right, Sidney, on this investigation here, what should I do? Give me advice here. How should I handle this? What would it be?
Well, the first thing he needs to do is protect executive privilege, which apparently they haven't done at all. In fact, I just saw a news story this morning that there are already leaks about what the two people who just testified in front of Congress last week, I think it was the NSA director and maybe the DNI, but they both now have talked to Mueller, and that's already been leaked and in the press.
Yeah, that was yesterday, earlier in the week.
In one sense, I applaud President Trump's willingness to be transparent and not hide anything from the public. But on the other hand, executive privilege has been protected for years. In fact, the Obama administration went way overboard in asserting executive privilege. But the president needs to be able to ask questions of his closest advisors in complete confidence, because he doesn't know the answers to everything.
Right.
And he has to be able to ask questions to stay on the right track. People that want to take him down will take the questions he asks and turn them against him as if he was trying to do something wrong, when in fact he was trying to follow the law and do it the right way. He needed somebody to tell him what it was. So look, it's going to be abused. They need to protect the office of the president and assert executive privilege on all the conversations he has with his advisors. That's just standard operating procedure.
And they don't do it now.
It shouldn't extend to evidence of any wrongdoing, obviously,
right.
But that's not wrongdoing. Asking the question of, can I do this, can I do that, is this right or not wrong, is not wrongdoing.
Well, even these leaks, as you mentioned, the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coates, former senator, and National Security Agency Director Mike Rogers, both of them described their interactions with the president about the Russia investigation. These were in closed-door private meetings with the Senate Intel, and it all got leaked. So, I mean, nothing is sacred. So why doesn't the president just say, hey, look, this is executive privilege, just like, you have privilege with your lawyer. I have a conversation. That's the end of it. I have the same thing with my doctor, but they're not invoking it. This is just bad advice, right?
It is very bad advice. I can't imagine that Don McCann isn't encouraging him to invoke executive privilege. I think it's Trump's desire to be as open and as possible, because he knows he hasn't colluded with Russia and he hasn't done anything wrong. But there is an office of the President of the United States that is important to protect. And that is what he doesn't seem to understand right now. It's not about him. This is about the office of the President of the United States and protecting that now and for the future.
All right, I've got a question here from Den in Chesapeake who texted in. He said, can you ask Sidney if she has any suggestions about how Trump can change the narrative to focus on the only real felonies that have occured like the leaks and things of that nature. Do you have any ideas on that, Sidney?
Well, starting a grand jury investigation of that would be a good step in that direction. I don't know what the Department of Justice is doing in that regard at all. I know what they would be doing if I were running it. But at the same time, the Department of Justice, when it does it right, doesn't advertise its investigation. So it could very well be going on now. But in an effort to do it right, we don't know about it.
All right, so looking at this investigation right now, Sidney, let's just be candid with each other. And I said this on CNN the other day, and, you get the same reaction. 12 months, no evidence of any wrongdoing. Nothing. You can't even get... Normally you have a special prosecutor to investigate a crime. There's no crime, no evidence of any crime, no evidence of any wrongdoing. There's nothing. After a year... And I've still got people like Senator Warner saying, well, there's a lot of smoke. There's got to be a fire someplace. But so far, there's no fire.
There's not even any smoke.
Well,
Comey's already cleared the air of any smoke. And the fact that he told the president 3 times he wasn't under investigation, and that's the only thing that wasn't leaked. I mean, all Trump asked him to do was tell the public, it's not me. And that's one thing he refused to leak.
Unbelievable. So where does Mueller wrap this up? I mean, is this one of these things, Sidney, that's just going to go on and on and on until they finally find somebody that did something wrong someplace and it carries over into the midterms? And, remember the Lawrence Walsh, the guy was there for like 67 months. I mean, does this thing ever end? Do they ever just conclude it?
I think they're going to drag it out as long as they possibly can. I can't believe even the number of staff he has put on this thing. I think he's up to 13 or 14 lawyers.
He's got 13 high-powered lawyers.
He's creating a law firm.
Yep, and they're all paid a lot of money. They all get expenses, so they got a great gig. And several of these were high-powered bundler donors for Clinton, which also, you have to think to yourself, where's the fairness here? But it's all on the taxpayer dime. And, I mean, what if Trump said, look, I'm going to give you 90 days.
What really ought to happen is Congress gets some backbone and sets their budget for just 1 year at X amount of dollars and tells them to get it done in that amount of time or you're done.
Well, that would take, did you say Congress, Republican leadership get backbone? That's an oxymoron.
Yep. Wouldn't that be a nice thing if it happened?
Yeah, or if the president said, okay, you got all your lawyers that I'm going to give you, 120 days. You got to get some in 120 days. If you don't have anything, I'm firing everybody. Have a nice day. So you better work overtime, weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, order in pizza. I don't care what you do, but you got 120 days to give me some evidence or I'm firing everybody. What if he did that?
It really shouldn't be the president that does that. It should be Congress putting the limits on it. But I guess he could do that.
Our fear is
the backlash is going to be bad because it's
what's
him.
The difference? Yeah, right. Well, I mean, you're already getting the backlash now, and it just goes on. It goes on unabated. This witch hunt, or what I called it, the Soviet-style Inquisition. And here was the real flag for me. It happened about a week ago, where it leaked that they were investigating Jared Kushner's real estate companies. What on earth does that have to do with the original nature of this investigation? What does Jared Kushner's real estate transactions have to do with anything that happened before he went in the White House? That just tells me they're just anything they can find. This thing is just a tiger by the tail with an unchecked budget, unchecked power, unlimited resources. What does Jared Kushner's real estate businesses have to do with the original nature of this investigation?
Absolutely nothing, other than the leak that they said, Kushner wanted a back channel to talk to people in Russia. And I think they're going to say, well, that was improper and that was some sort of evidence of something. But obviously, if there was any collusion, he wouldn't have wanted a back channel for Russia to talk to anyone over there. And every administration has always had and tried to develop assorted contacts within Russia so that there's more than one person to ask to find out if something is true. And different sources give you different information. There's nothing new about this at all. There was an excellent editorial in the Wall Street Journal yesterday by Holman Jenkins. I mean, I would hope they would be investigating Hillary Clinton and the Clinton Foundation's ties to Russia. Talk about the smoke and fire. That's where the smoke and fire is. Good Lord. I mean, Russia put how much money in the Clinton Foundation and paid Bill to speak, and the uranium deal. I mean, there's more than enough to keep them busy for 2 years just with the Clinton Foundation. But there's no word of them investigating possible real crimes. It's just like the Enron task force. That's why I was so stunned when I heard that Weissman had been chosen by Mueller for this task force. Mueller was involved in that too because he was head of the FBI at the time, I think, or in it in some way. But
the whole thing
thick
stinks
and deep and dense, and it is all swamp.
By any means necessary to stop this president and his agenda, Sidney Powell. The whole thing stinks to high heaven. No question about it. We're out of time. I want to thank Sidney Powell for being with us, former official in the Justice Department. Now is the time more than ever to read her book, License to Lie. And all you have to do is go to her website, license2lie.com, and order it right there. Or if you want to do the Amazon thing, you can go there. Sidney Powell, License to Lie. Hey, Sidney, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, John.
Always a pleasure. John Fredericks Radio Network. Go buy it. License to Lie. I'll be right back.